Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining another session with Dr. Diana Londono. And she is not just an amazing healthcare provider, but she's an amazing human being. She is a board certified urologist, life coach, international speaker, and one of the very few Latina women in her field in the US. After personally experiencing burnout twice, she transformed her journey into a mission to raise awareness, support physician, and advocate for wellness in medicine. She is the founder of Physician Force Support and has published widely in leading medical platforms and is contributing author to Thriving After Burnout and Medic SOS, a recipient of Los Angeles County Medical Association Physician Leadership Award. uh, Dr. Londono combines her expertise in medicine with coaching, mindfulness, and energy healing to empower both clinicians and patients. So, welcome, Dr. Diana. Thank you so much for joining. It's really an honor to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for, having me, and this lineup of speakers is really, inspirational, and, it's such a good energy and invigorating to be here. So thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks to all those participants who've been with us since morning. And it's such a good energy here. Like they are engaging well, all this, I am loving it. I'm loving the experience here. The learning is too much. And I'm sure that, a lot of people are here with us, especially Darlene, Tona. I'm so glad that you are here. You've been here with us this morning. It's so good to see you with all the session. The energy you bring is amazing. And Kathleen, all those people, like, I'm really good to see you again with the, like, I think it's the fifth or sixth session. So I'm so glad. So let's begin our conversation. And I know that you have that's a very vast experience, and you are one of the very few one. Like, I'm really proud that you're with us. It's only like one in the 10% of the women that you are the urologist and working as like in USA. So just tell us a bit about your experience first, and then we'll move on to the proper conversation that how we can just fix the healthcare system and everything.
As a meteorologist, I mean, they actually just gave out the new stats, which were 12%. We were up from 10 of all the urologists who are women. And being a Latina, it's 0.05%. It's very, very small, but that I think is a superpower. It really is, you know, always never, seeing things as, what is a gift? What can I bring? How can I still be me, regardless of what the numbers look like? Because we are all so unique. And when we just are ourselves fully, I think that is a gift to the world. So, we all come from different countries, different backgrounds, different experiences. But when we show our own unique viewpoint and style and conversations, we really add a richness to this. And I think that that's what the summit is. But yeah, my day job is urology. I love what I do. I love my patients. I really get a lot of satisfaction of having these deep conversations with patients because a lot of what I do deals with a lot of quality of life, problems with erections, incontinence, leakage. There's a lot of things that bring a lot of stigma and shame. And I really think it's really important not just to get the diagnosis, give a prescription, do surgery, but really go deeper into who is this person, what is important to them, what is their fear, what are their questions, and make sure we go into a deeper like place to really take care of the whole person. So I really approach my patients, in that manner. And I think that is the same with anything we're going to hopefully talk about. And we have been talking about today about talking about the whole person, the whole system. And when we're talking about diagnosing or healing the system, we have to understand we are the system. We are components of the whole. And we like to always, look outside and try to help and fix everything else, but I think it really starts with ourselves. And if you don't heal yourself, you can't heal others. And so what today I really want to talk about is looking at how do we take care of ourselves, no matter your role. It doesn't matter if you're a nurse, a physician, in IT, it doesn't matter your role. But if we are well, that's going to translate into how everybody else is feeling, how everybody else is acting. And so I really want to bring sort of like the part of like the mental component, the physical component, like the energetic component, because we can feel the energy, and a spiritual component, not a religious, but a spiritual. And when we go through these different parts or facets and we really work on this, I think we can begin to be whole. And whole is synonymous with healing. To heal is to be whole. So that's really my goal for today, is bringing those aspects, touching on each of them, and realizing we have to start with ourselves to heal that system.
Yes, you covered it so beautifully, and you covered so many aspects that how we can cover holistic well-being instead of just focusing on this one part. Just tell us a bit about that, how your journey impacted yours, that to, like especially moving from burnout to becoming a healer for others, how that burnout actually impacted you to become a healer.
Yeah, well, it's a gift. I think we all, have gifts that we get, and they are all learning lessons. And I think everything's happening for us. We either see it as something to learn and something to grow from, or something that is happening to us. And I really see it as a gift that I was able to fully feel the effects of, what is burnout? Is chronic unmanaged stress. And when it's unmanaged and chronic, it starts affecting everything I kind of talked about, our mind, our thoughts. It affects our body physically, it affects our spirit, and it really depletes us. So, when I was going through that, I got the gift of experiencing real, physical manifestations in my body. Your hair is falling out, you're losing weight, you are not sleeping well, you have insomnia, you grind your teeth, had debilitating like chest pain. I developed asthma in my 40s, which I never had before. And how do you develop all these problems? Chest pain, asthma, joint pain. I started to have like signs of autoimmune disease, which is your rheumatoid factor, which is in a rheumatoid arthritis, is elevated. So how do you start having all these things? How does your body start truly attacking itself? Is again, with chronic stress, what's released into your body is a slew of stress hormones, cortisol, epinephrine, and that starts damaging your body physically. So I started to experience that, and I started to also be very negative and, very disillusioned and cynical, and those are signs of burnout. So when I had to sort of look at myself, like what's happening to me, how do I get out of this? I had to like learn things I didn't learn in medical school, which is a good thing. I got to learn more things. I got to read a lot of books to understand what is happening truly. How do I get out of it? Um, and it really started with awareness, like, step 101, like my thoughts are creating a lot of feelings of fear and, scarcity and all these things that are affecting my body is leading to physical manifestations. And then I'm basically, sick. So how do we get out of that? So it started with an awareness of my thoughts. That's how I became a life coach. But then I started really digging deeper, like, well, I can't just, why do I have to switch my thoughts? Is it just a thought switch and that's good enough? And I really thought, well, there's a why behind it. There's a deeper truth. And the deeper truth is a spiritual truth. And that was something based in love and purpose. So when we start tapping into that, I really think that we can have the steps to get out of burnout. Like when we tap into a purpose, when we tap into, gratitude, these spiritual questions or things, it really can get us out of burnout because we have something to look forward to. We are excited about something that we're doing. We really are being aligned and authentic about things that really light us up instead of being stressed and cynical. And so that's sort of how it all began. And that's really how I got into, physician wellness and really helping my colleagues, with this and try to bring awareness and just help them with tools that I learned so they hopefully their transition can be a little easier.
Yeah, I mean, I think your journey has been inspiring, and I think that's how I always say that everything happens for a reason. So maybe like your burnout was actually just sign that you need to do something about it. And as you look around, that a lot of people around you are also help like suffering in silence, right? Especially the clinician and healthcare provider. So I just want to ask that basically, how did you find out that, it's, I know that it's not your journey also, because it's others also, especially like healthcare and clinicians and nurses are suffering in silence. So when did you realize that it's not only you that you are suffering, and then you have to do something for this?
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are pretty staggering. If we look at, physician burnout, we're, almost at 50% for all specialties. There's some subspecialties are up to almost two-thirds of them are in burnout. We know that, and they haven't checked this for a few years now, but the Medscape reports, showed about, 13% of all physicians are suicidal. And we know that about 400 every single year are dying by suicide. We also know that, when they checked in 2021, almost 120,000 physicians, which is, about 12% of the workforce left medicine. And we see that in nursing as well. We see new graduates, the statistics, about 30% of new nursing graduates leaving the nursing profession. I mean, these are staggering numbers that seem, almost, hopeless and terrible. But I also think that there's a lot of good that can come out of it when we, sometimes need that space to step back, to really realign our priorities. I think that that is a good sign that we can step back. Maybe we come back, maybe we don't, but we are likely taking steps to taking care of ourselves, and is having that awareness that this is not working. We have to do something different.
Yeah.
And I think that the important thing is we have to kind of understand, and you say it also very beautifully in your book. I mean, we have to understand, we can only, control ourselves in a reaction to what's happening. We can't control everything around us or other people, but what can I control? What do I have control over? Those are our reactions, our thoughts, our actions. And so we have to understand we have a lot of power and we have that control. What are we putting our attention, our time into? What are the words that we're using every day in our self-talk and our talk for others? Having that awareness really changes everything.
Repenting for your sins.
Just a second. I think
Wait
somebody,
a minute.
uh,
Forgot about me.
I mean, somebody is not on mute.
Well, please don't be that.
Oh my,
What are you making?
I don't know.
Caitlin.
You could have some.
I don't know. I think, how can I
I'm so sorry.
apologize? I think, Diana, you can just unmute yourself. I just unmuted everyone.
Okay, no problem.
I think this,
No problem. That happens.
sorry, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So we have control, of ourselves, and that's what we have to realize. We want to change people. We have to understand people are going to be who they are going to be, but we can control, what are we thinking? We can control what are we putting our time in, and then that really also comes into, boundaries. Like what are we saying no to, and what are we saying yes to? And I think in the medical profession, we are very much overgivers and people pleasers, and when we understand we have maybe these tendencies and that's leading to a lot of depletion, then we can step back and say, I need to say no to this because that's saying yes to me or to my children, my family, or my health. So we have to understand and learn those boundaries. So that goes with, our mind. Like, what are we thinking? What are we saying yes and no to? It's really, really critical. Nothing changes unless we change, and we have to change how we are viewing, the situation, or we're viewing what's happening to us. And until we change something, nothing else is going to change. We're going to be in the same chronic stress, depletion, not taking care of ourselves and our body because we gave that time to something else.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely right. I mean, the title of the talk is "This Change Begins from Within Us." So, uh, and and Dr. Diana will take us through the guided step for lasting impact. So, I want to ask that that what are the practical steps any clinician or the healthcare provider can take to avoid burnout or protect themselves from the burnout?
Yeah, I think a great and easy practice that truly changes your physiology is to
Mhm.
start with gratitude, because
Mhm.
gratitude and stress cannot coexist. And it's either one or the other. So, gratitude not only changes, how you think, obviously, but it changes the physiology. It increases your serotonin, which is your happy hormone, your dopamine, again, happy hormones. And so it's literally at the cell level starting to change. And it's not a checklist like, oh, I'm so grateful for, I don't know, my food and this. When we have it as a task to do, it kind of doesn't really work. You really have to feel it. You have to sit down and feel the gratitude. Like, what am I truly grateful for with a feeling from the heart? Because that changes, thoughts are electrical activity, is energy. But when you fuse it with your heart, which is magnetic because it has an electromagnetic field, it is really so much more powerful than just a thought and a checklist. So
Mhm.
when we can sit and do a practice of true gratitude in the morning, at night, towards the day, and then you actually start realizing throughout the day, your brain starts looking for evidence of everything else that you can be grateful for. So when we start with that changes everything, because then you don't focus on what you lack and you don't have, but you focus on what you do have, which again changes your mindset of scarcity to abundance. Like, what do I have? And we have so much, but we are otherwise running in fear, lack, against scarcity, very abundant in medicine. So when we switch just that mindset, like, we're going to feel different. We're going to feel more calm. We're going to feel more centered. We're going to feel happier. Again, serotonin and dopamine is running in our bloodstream. So that's an easy place to start seeing some shifts in your body and how you feel and your well-being.
Yeah.
And then we have to then focus on the other parts. Like, again, what are we saying yes to or no to? Boundaries? That's really important. What am I focusing my time on? And I hear a lot of people always say, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time.
Mhm.
But if you maybe just even do an easy audit of one day or even the whole week, write down everything you're doing that day, and you realize there's so many pockets of time that you're not truly doing anything, productive, let's say. You're scrolling on social media, you're wasting time, and you are not using it effectively for the things that really matter to you. So doing that time audit starts to get you more organized of like, what do I want to do throughout the day? And you have to schedule those pockets of time. Yes, for your gratitude. Yes, for your quiet prayer, meditation, whatever you want to call it. It has to be scheduled and a priority in your day. So, instead of watching TV or doing something else, schedule that time that is critical to move you out of the fight or flight stress reaction to a calm, rest, digest, calm state. So it's going to change your thoughts, your physiology, how you feel, how you show up. And so that's something easy you can do.
Yes, absolutely. I love that, especially when I love that response when you said that, gratitude is not something that, just tick the box and, just say, oh, I'm just good enough. I'm great. I'm grateful for this. It's basically you need to feel it. You feel it and you need to believe it because I think it's all in our mind and our thoughts actually creates our reality, right? And when we actually start believing in it, it starts manifesting. So like, what we usually see is that, people are stuck in the same routine. Like they are in the thoughts, like just keep thinking and thinking and thinking, and then the same thoughts creating the manifestation again and again and again. I really like the way that you actually share that it's all in our energy as well. So just tell us a bit more about it, but how it impacts our energy, because our energy is contagious also. Because if we are stressed, I know that we are likely to transfer that stress to our colleague as well. So tell us a bit about that, how we can balance our energy and boost our energy level so we can create better impact in our lives and in others' lives.
Yeah, our energy is critical, and we are energetic beings. I mean, down to the cellular level, what's happening every single second is, you get nerdy, and sodium and potassium channels are transferring energy and producing energy. It goes to the cellular level, and it can be measured
Yeah.
outside your body. Even when you go to the ER, you think you're having a heart attack. I mean, an EKG is an
Mm.
electrocardiogram. You're checking the energy in your heart. EEG in the brain. So we are energetic beings, and things can deplete and things can energize. So what are these things? So if we want to talk about maybe what depletes, things that deplete you is when you are not aligned or authentic. You're doing things you don't want to do. You're saying yes to things and then you keep that resentment. I mean, that's actually very depleting because you are faking who you are. You're not being aligned to your true things that you want to do or where you want to be. People that are around you are also can be very depleting. Like it's the law of thermodynamics. Energy comes, from high to low. So if you're high and somebody's low, it's gonna suck and drain your energy away. And we know in research that if you sit next to somebody in a cubicle, let's say, for more than 5 minutes, you start picking up on their mood. So that has been shown that you start picking up their mood. So who is around you? Who are you surrounding yourself with? Because they will affect you. Just like a apple that is rotten in a basket is going to rot all the other apples. So who's around you because that energy is real is going to affect you. So that's going to deplete you. So again, negativity, negative people, not being aligned, that's going to be very depleting. Anger, resentment, they consume a lot of energy. And going through all these like negative thought loops that you just ruminate on, that's very depleting. Also, when you have resentment, you don't forgive others, that is very depleting. You're sitting in that resentment. So when you forgive, you actually like let go. I mean, you don't have to tell them I forgive you. You have to do this for yourself, like internally, like I forgive you, I love you, like the little Ho'oponopono prayer. I love you, I forgive you, letting go of that weight and resentment. So those are easy things we can do to let go of energy. Also, if you are in any job, but one that faces a lot of people, we pick up their energy. So it just kind of goes on us like Velcro. So how do you get sort of rid of it? It's very easy actually in some medical setting because we use alcohol, not just for viruses and bacteria, but actually the alcohol, when you put in your hands, it can get rid of the energy that we pick up, or even just going like this. It's the sort of the same principle of a church bell, the dong or a gong, that vibration gets rid of energy, breaks it up. So if you do that with your hands, if you put alcohol, that can get rid of energy that depletes you.
Yeah,
Same
thanks.
thing if you,
No,
yeah,
no, go ahead, sorry. Mhm.
same thing, if you go either the ocean or you make your own salt bath, the ocean has salt, it releases the energy. That's why people feel so much calmer in the ocean. It's only the waves, but the salt water is very powerful. You could do that at home. Get a pound of salt, put it in your bathtub, and get in that bathtub to get rid of that stress energy. So these are like easy things we can do to like get rid of energy. And then to energize, there are many things, but beautiful things. Again, what are thoughts? Like gratitude, freedom, joy. Thinking of these thoughts that are energizing. Being excited about anything, being tap into the purpose that gets you excited. That's going to raise your energy. Also, movement is so, so, so critical. When we move our body, it's going to be very helpful to move and energize yourself. So, whatever form of movement you enjoy, like walking, dancing, biking, anything can be very energizing. Going outside to nature or just the sun, getting some sun, 15 minutes, just like a little plant, you need that to energize yourself. We are beings that, get power from the sun, just like a solar panel. We need that. That's going to be energizing. Connection, with people. Loneliness is a pandemic in itself. So many people, more than two, like a third of people are lonely, and that is more destructive to our health than smoking cigarettes. So connecting with others, calling friends, family, spending time, that is actually very energizing with people that you love. That connection gives you energy, fuels your soul. You feel so much better when you're with others. So those are things we can do that we need to schedule into our day. They can't be default or when I get to it. Again, we have to look at our week, our day. What am I spending my time on and adding uh, those things to our day? They have to be part of it. How are you moving? How are you connecting? How are you getting rid of energy? How are you blocking energy that depletes you? These are really, important things that we have to think. And, I don't want to keep going, but like we underestimate the huge power of sleep.
Yeah.
That is very energizing.
Mm.
And that's where we restore, we repair our DNA, our hormones are balanced. As a urologist, I see a lot of men with low testosterone. one of the most important things you have to do is let's check on our sleep. Are you sleeping well? Are you sleeping enough? Do you have sleep apnea? Are we going to fix it or improve that? Because if we don't fix your sleep, I'm not going to fix your testosterone. And that happens for men and women with their hormones as well.
Mm.
So if you're feeling depleted, how are you sleeping? What are you eating? Are we eating nourishing foods or are we eating, junk food and processed food? Because that's going to deplete your system. It's going to clog up the efficiency of how well your system is running. We need water like plants. I mean, these are basic, but we really neglected. We don't drink enough water, we're running around, and we're not taking care of our basic needs. It's so, so critical. So when we don't feel well, let's go through the basics. How are we sleeping? What are we eating? Are we moving? Are we breathing? Consciously, are we breathing consciously? So not just like these shallow breaths of stress, but like these deep breaths. Are we doing that? So these are really important things of like things we can do. So long, but I wanted to make sure we go through this because we miss them. We think it's not important, but these are critical for well-being.
Yes, amazing. I love this list. Actually, these are so basic, but it has great impact on our lives. I mean, I was also like having this take a look at the study that released, especially it's about the Alzheimer's, and it says that like 45% of the risk is it can be reduced when we actually bring those changes in the lifestyle, like taking a walk in the nature that you mentioned, you taking the sleep or eating healthy. It's just and breathing, and like a lot of people don't even breathe properly because, as you mentioned, it's basically they are taking the shallow breathing, and which makes them more stressed, and they constantly on the stress level is high, so the entire body is on like working on the fight or flight mode, which is constantly draining their energy. So I'm so glad that you put in took a time to actually list down all those basic but very important steps. And one thing is also that I'm glad that you mentioned is sleep. Sleep is like it's very underestimated. It has huge potential, like and it is something very close to my heart as well because I want to study more on that because one third of human life is actually spent in sleep. So it has to be something really important because we can't just waste our life in sleeping. One third is too much. So I think it does play more than just rejuvenating. It has a lot of other purposes as well. I want to ask, like you mentioned that this energy is like it's contagious and it also depletes us if we are in the negative surrounding, right? So to some extent we can avoid some company or the people around us, but what if that we are stuck in kind of a at a workplace where we can't leave, or maybe like our boss or our line manager or maybe the family member. So how do you recommend that, especially like when we're talking about the healthcare system, which is more, it's creating burnout. So it's like the entire system is kind of depleting energy. So in that system, how one can sustain or protect their energy to survive, or I would say to thrive actually.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we cannot control the circuit sometimes. We cannot control others. I mean, maybe we'll spend like a few minutes just kind of I want to do this exercise
Sure.
to just really show you the power of our thoughts because it doesn't matter if it's real or imagined because a lot of the things we were concerned about actually not even real. We make up these stories. We're like wonderful story makers, and half of it is like not real, not the correct information. We're making assumptions. We assume and we suffer from all these assumptions of what they're saying, what they're doing, what's happening. And then we get in these loops and we make stories of things that like may not be true, but in our mind, they're absolutely true. And then they cause us that worry, that stress, that fear, that depletion because we're just constantly spinning. So I want to spend maybe just three
Yeah, sure.
minutes, doing this exercise to just show you
Yeah,
the power of your thoughts and how our thoughts are going to change our physiology. And
sure.
then we can really see how we truly can then choose, like how, we're going to protect our energy. What are we going to do? But I want to show you. So
Sure.
if you're not driving, if you're just sitting,
Yeah,
maybe just
sure.
go ahead and close your eyes for a second. It just makes it easier to tune out Everything else is aside, and let's just maybe start with just, a deep breath. Let's have a deep breath. It's been a long morning, exciting morning, but let's kind of center and take a deep breath in and then just breathe out deeply. Okay, and then just take another deep breath in. Okay, and slowly. Okay, we'll do a third one because third time's the charm. So deep breath in and out. And I want you to keep your eyes closed for this exercise, just to tune out what's been going outside, what's happening, what you have to do. Let go of that for a second. And I want you to close your eyes and think of yourself in a kitchen. You are standing in a kitchen. It could be your own kitchen, it can be your dream kitchen, it could be your grandma's kitchen. It doesn't matter. Just stand and imagine this kitchen. And I want you to feel, what does the temperature feel like? What does, the floor feel like in your feet, or do you have shoes on? What is the lighting like? Look at the cabin as a color. And once you imagine this kitchen, I want you to now imagine you're standing in front of a cutting board and you have a lemon. And I want you to look at this lemon. I want you to pick up this lemon and get it close to you and just feel like the edges of the lemon. Go ahead and maybe take a smell and smell that lemon and the rind. Feel the weight of the lemon. And once you've done that, go ahead and put that lemon back down and put it in the cutting board. And I want you to go ahead and get a knife and cut that lemon in half. Once you do that, you can see the inside, the glistening of the pulp, maybe some juice, is flowing. And then go ahead and cut it again in another half and get that wedge. And I want you to pick up that wedge and bring it up to your mouth and go ahead and like bite into that lemon with your teeth and just bite into it and just feel the juices, taste that lemon, the sourness. And once you're done with that, go ahead and put it back into your cutting board. And then just slowly go ahead and just, open your eyes and see sort of just what you felt with that experiment.
Mhm.
I mean, most of us, and even as I sort of narrated to you, you feel the salivary glands start to, produce all the saliva and your mouth waters and you feel the puckering. And there's no lemon, right? Like we just made it up in our mind. We imagined this lemon and cutting it and the glistening and the sourness. Yet our body's physiology changed completely. We started to salivate, we started to taste it. So that's with the thought of a lemon. Now imagine if we are thinking about our coworker and what they're doing and about this and about that, like our in the background, just like a refrigerator running, it is producing all these stress hormones that are going to damage again our energy. It's going to damage our well-being, our wellness, our disease is going to create that. So we cannot control that, but we can start our day again with an intention to start with peace, with gratitude, with showing up as the best version of yourself, because we're gonna spend time um, that we've already scheduled for our movement, for our breathing, for eating the healthy food, for calling friends. We know that's going to happen throughout the day. And then we're also going to find pockets throughout the day of joy. What can that be? Like go find a coworker and say hi, give him a hug, go do a little dance. I mean, whatever brings you joy. Have things in your desk that give you joy, the picture of your family, your dogs. You have to make your environment that brings you joy throughout the day, even when there's chaos. So we are going to create that environment, and then we are going to like ride the day through that. And then we understand that, we can control it, but you're going to control how you react. Maybe you're going to take a deeper breath throughout the day because, like it's a stressful meeting, it's a stressful interaction. And before you react and start yelling, maybe you're going to take a deep breath and then react and then speak and then have your opinion. So we can control that. And, we then decide how we show up. So or we could just start fighting and yelling and being in chronic stress and burnout. So I mean, those are options we get to decide. So that's how I would start, is like having awareness that we can control how we're gonna react. We can control what our environment looks like and what brings us joy, even in the middle of the chaos. Like we create that reality.
Yes. I love that exercise. Actually, I mean, it's okay that you can feel the lemon, and we can also actually have that citrus in our mouth. So, I would just say that our mind does not differentiate between what is in imagination and what is in reality. When we start thinking that in our imagination, our mind innocently believe that it is a reality. And then when we start believing this, like for example, we may have that daydream that, let's say, that we are walking on a beach or something. But when we start having that belief, then it turns into our reality. And as like you've read my book, but I've also said that it's the quantum physics also kind of theoretically proves that how these thoughts, and because it has some energy, it translates or it transforms into a reality, and then it turns into a manifestation of what we are thinking, and we are seeing this, and then we start to experience that reality in tangible reality. So that's really amazing, that and I love that experiment that you just said. And so I also want to talk about that you've been actually you've learned Reiki also, right? That you can actually kind of change or transfer the energy. So maybe you can just tell us a bit about that, how we can uplift ourselves or boost our mood through through I would say that through energy, or taking the energy from the universe or something. So if you can just share a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I mean,
Mhm.
energy is real, and we sometimes get more comfortable maybe thinking about prayer for those that
Yeah.
pray, and but if you're not, if you're secular, it's just your thoughts, like what are you thinking, that like you're thinking about your friend and they call you. I mean, that's energy.
Mhm.
But prayer, how does it work? How does you think of something, change the reality? How does praying for health change that? And energy, everything that starts that you see physically actually starts energetically. So sometimes, if there's a block energetically and you are able to clear and move it, it's like a freeway when a traffic jam. If everything's all blocked up, not moving, things start to happen. And so when we are able to move the energy freely, things like change. And that's the basis of acupuncture. They put needles, and the needles then go into these energy channels, and then that restores the flow so things can, move and be in balance. So with Reiki, is basically understanding a principle that there's energy anywhere. There's energy in the sun. I think we believe that it is energy. We get sunburned. It's energy that burns our skin. There's energy in the air and on the earth. Like if you walk barefoot, you feel different than when you don't walk barefoot. You feel energized. If you are around nature, there's trees, they have energy, and we feel different than when we're in the forest in Yosemite, than when we're in the LA traffic on the 405 freeway. We feel different. So there's different energy. And so we can use these energy sources, and then we can transfer them with our thoughts, which are also energy, and hopefully restore a balance of the energy blocks in our body. I like to think of, when we're really angry, let's think about that. Like we're angry, and then chronically, if we're angry, we start developing stress ulcers right here in the center of, our chest, and where our stomach and our esophagus is. That's what they call the solar plexus. That's the energy center, where anger can reside. And I can see that also in my patients urologically. They store a lot of emotions in their pelvis, and it starts manifesting with frequency, urgency to pee. They have to go all the time. They start having chronic pain. And you could do all these tests and all these things, and nothing will come up because it's not something physical yet, but it's energetic blockage that needs to move through. And so sometimes just having the realization that my emotions, my thoughts are stuck somewhere in my body and I'm holding on to them, when I release that, my symptoms get better, because they do, then you don't need the medicines and the surgeries and the procedures. It's just understanding that our emotions, instead of being in motion, they're getting stuck. And so we can have that awareness and do it ourselves by understanding, like, I'm holding on to something, anger, resentment, worry. And if I don't let it go and move through our body, it's going to cause me that stagnation and disease. And others can, who are, learn Reiki or pranic healing, energy healing, can move it for you. I mean, they literally move it. And there are studies that show that our hands, you know, have like the highest level of energy. They've measured it. There's so much energy in the hand. That's why there's like a healing touch. That's why when somebody, puts their hand on their shoulder or gives you a hug, you feel better, you feel more calm. There's so much energy in our hands. And so we are transferring that energy. And even if you make chicken soup when you're sick, when your mom makes that chicken soup, yes, of course, the fluids are good and the vegetables, but there's love attached to that chicken soup. There's an intention that then is healing. I mean, that energy is real. So when we attach love, when we attach like these positive thoughts that affect others, then we can restore that balance, and we can get to a place where we're in, again, balance. We are healing. We're not blocked. There's no stagnation. So, energy is real, and there's many ways to do it. Again, in acupuncture, that is more accepted. People do it. There's even in urology, we have something called PTNS, percutaneous tibial nerve stimulator. We use these little needles, like acupuncture ones, connect them to energy. You put them in your nerve in the ankle, it's called your tibial nerve, and that energy reroutes how your bladder reacts or acts. So these are real things that we're using more and more, and that is going to continue to be used, in the future, like energy, quantum healing, whatever you want to call it. But there's real potential for other modalities and more holistic care.
Yeah, you explained it so well. Thank you so much. And the time is almost running out, but if anyone has a question, please feel free to ask. And so we can wrap up this particular session, and then we have 15 minutes break before we move to the other session. Jen Fraser, and then we'll be talking about that how the leaders who heal versus how the leaders who harm. So if anyone has any questions, please, or any comments, please feel free to share.
I just wanted to say, I finally got to meet Diana, even though it's virtual. So wonderful to hear you speak, and to see your face at the same time and not on a replay from a podcast. So beautiful message, beautiful, powerful words. Thank you for what you brought to the summit. It was lovely to hear you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Darlene. Thank you, Ambreen and Valerie, everybody here. Really, it's such an honor to be here. And, I hope these can be truly small things that have power and add up, and they're cumulative. And again, they sound simple, like Ambreen said, but, when we really prioritize our sleep, when we really prioritize nutritious food, when we prioritize that connection, putting those boundaries so that people don't deplete us, bringing people that energize us, that gives us hope and gives us creativity, and we collaborate. I mean, those are things that we have to truly, be conscious and create. So it sounds simple, but we have to do it. If not, we're going to be the same place of the negativity and the feeling drained and feeling hopeless and helpless. And that's really not true. We can really change our reality by changing our thoughts, changing our energy, changing our network of people. And I hope that people can, follow some of these steps and truly, see the changes. And gratitude, again, is super powerful. Do not underestimate it. If you take anything away from that, start your gratitude journal, not just a checklist, but truly like feeling it and embodying it, what it is. And you're going to see, and others will see the changes too.
Amazing. That's really amazing. I would just say that I think it's Dr. Joe Dispenza. I can say that if our thoughts can make it sick, then our thoughts can also heal us. So it has a lot of powers. And we hold all this power. It's just a matter of realizing that we are in power and we can change it. And as you mentioned in the beginning, that we cannot change anyone outside. The only power we have is on ourselves. We need to change ourselves first, and then we start to see things changing around us. So what a wonderful talk. Thank you so much, Dr. Diana, for sharing your wisdom, for sharing your insights. It was amazing session. Thank you so much. So now we just uh, take a pause and take a break for 15 minutes, and we'll see you all in 15 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.